Welcome, my 363 subscribers, everyone who subscribed to Honor Club, all 15,000 of you, all of you subscribe to @Honor Club on YouTube. Since we don't have Honor Club internationally, so I have to watch there, illegally, and ROH isn't taking down the video, so I guess it's okay for now. And everyone who thinks Tony Khan has a new favorite child. Yeah, watch out AEW. Welcome to my review of Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor 2023. Let's begin. So Tony Khan did a really dumb thing since he aired Supercard of Honor along with AEW Rampage. I don't think as much people buy Ring of Honor as much as Rampage, so this might not affect numbers much. Last year, I think the highest ROH did was like 25,000 buys. Honor Club has like 15,000 subscribers, so we might get around that number of buys. Rampage does like 300 to 400k, so I'm expecting like 390 plus k or something. It's an odd choice, but it's very comedic if you like see a tweet of it or if you hear from it from a friend. But when you think about it, it's not gonna hit Rampage's numbers that much. That's still a good card, and like at least 350k are gonna watch. So yeah, let's talk about Ring of Honor. So yeah, this show is in contention for best show of the year. Yeah, along with Grand Princess, which I haven't reviewed yet. I'm gonna get to that. As well as Muto's retirement, Wrestle Kingdom, Elimination Chamber, and of course Revolution. This measly pay-per-view show that's resurrected from a dead company, that's promoted via a 15,000 sub streaming service, is like in my top 3 of the year. And we're only 3 months in. This year is already turning out to be like one of the best years of wrestling history. A lot of old heads might disagree, but god damn, like none of the pay-per-views have missed so far for like most of the companies. WWE doesn't even have like a bad one. It's all like above average. So yeah, for the first match, we have Hijo del Vikingo versus Commander for the Mega Campeonato AAA. So what a hype match to open the show. We have 2 top-tier luchadors who have impressed on AEW TV with their breathtaking acts of aerial prowess. But what's the story? I don't know any of these people. All they do are flips. And they don't have any psychology. April Fools. Bitch, the story is there's a championship. I want it. Let's fight. That's your story. So I expected a high-flying start, but we ended up getting their version of technical wrestling. A lot of stuff I've never seen before, and counters to established moves that I've never seen before as well. It reminds me of like Simon Gotch's thing in Noah, where he like holds you by the legs and then like plants your shoulders on the floor. They do it here but with their legs. There's a fun counter to the surfboard stretch, where dude goes the other way instead of to the side. Like these non-American wrestlers, man, and the surfboard stretch. Emi Sakura can launch you from it, and then Commander can escape it by climbing off of the legs. Very innovative stuff. But some things did not work. They tried to go for like this double upside down slap spot that I think was done better by... Was it Mox and Danielson? I forgot. But like whenever this was done before, it was done better. In here, the slaps are too soft. It's like they're lightly tapping each other on the cheeks and it just looked bad. But thankfully, they leave that to the technicians and then they move on to the high-flying moves that we came to see. But there are things that could have been done better. First is that there's like too obvious waiting. I'm okay with waiting for spots, but as long as you like make it look like you're groggy. You gotta shake that ass while pretending to be dizzy and out of it. You gotta sell a limp in order to like explain why you're unable to move from that spot. Or just sell exhaustion, because there are a lot of like times here where there's a lot of waiting for each guy to hit their move, and like the simpler ones, surprisingly, were the ones that are more obvious. And the best one is top 1 spot of the match. Like, the most concealed wait for a guy to do their move spot in the entire match. And that's the part where they're like about to have a fight. On ropes, Vikingo is on the top turnbuckle. Commander is getting on the ropes, but then Vikingo like As Commander is charging at him, he hits him with a destroyer to the ring. And that's another thing. They spam a lot of moves here. They could have like varied it up a little bit. I would have preferred some like fast lucha exchanges instead of everything just being a dive. I'm a fan of Puro, so I like striking, and I like when a variety of moves are done and not just like moonsaults all of the time or like destroyers all of the time. Someone could have done like a power bomb avalanche thing, like a code blue would have been nice, or maybe some more weird counters, but yeah, I don't think we got enough of that. But I do like how long they're on the floor after they do a dive though. It's a lot less egregious than Vikingo's previous AW match against Omega, where he like gets back up too fast. Omega was key in slowing down that match, and here with two luchadors, with pretty much the same style, a bunch of high flyers, some skywalkers, I think they did a good enough job at restraint. And like selling the move that was done to them and that they did, especially Vikingo. And yes, of course, the dives here were perfectly done. Zero botches. They had an air show. And to cushion the fact that they just did dives most of the match, there was also a lot of like interrupting the setup to their moves. So yeah, that was awesome. But again, I have to reiterate that Vikingo and Commander, you can do cool lucha exchanges and nice like power moves against each other in between the dives. It doesn't have to be all like turnbuckle or springboard stuff. You can do other things as well. Just saying, as a Puro fan, you need to add a little more variety in the matches. I love the high flying. That should definitely be part of the climax of the match. But if we have that for the whole way through, and like nothing in between, like the fast luchador exchanges, the high speed power moves, if you don't have that, the sort of balance of being interesting shifts from the high flying spots to the grapple spots. So that's why I had Vikingo's like spin out avalanche Uranagi much higher up than it should be, given how incredible these like other four dives are. So yeah, number 5 spot is Commander's finish. I don't even know what this is called. This was like a something corkscrew shooting star something. Someone please tell me what this is called. But just like look at the pictures. He does this, he hits Vikingo, and then like at 2.999, Vikingo just grabs the ropes. Spot number 4 is Commander's run across the ropes, and then he does like that crucifix sort of dive. I don't know what that dive is called. But yeah, it's the thing he did in AEW Dynamite in that ladder match. And it's like cool, but I've seen it before. In that one, it landed on more people, so I'm gonna have to give the edge to that one instead of this. Spot number 3 is Vikingo's avalanche spin out Uranagi. Yeah, not a lot of power grapple moves or like just any luchador exchanges once after the intro, so I appreciate this move being here. And it sets up for the finish. Number 2 spot is Vikingo's 630 to Commander on the table outside. And I've already described the top 1 spot of the match. It's the destroyer off of the ropes from the top turnbuckle. It's a well-masked weight spot. So yeah, amazing show stealer. It has its flaws. That comes from my biases as a Puro fan, but great effort from both dudes. Vikingo's probably going back to Mexico. He has commitments there. He is world champion. But we do have Commander in ROH. And Dralistico, Penta, Rey Fenix, Metalik. I think we're going to be fine without Vikingo. So yeah, after this is the Embassy in Brian Cage, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leona against Blake Christian, Grand Metalik, and Air Fox. And I don't know what people were thinking. They actually had Blake Christian, Grand Metalik, and Air Fox winning this one. Just know, that's a newly formed trio. If they're going to win it, they're going to win it in a second try. I think a better team can take the titles from Cage and the boys. But yeah, I don't even think Cage should be in the trios division. I think he should be going for the TV title or the world title. He should be a top heel on ROH and maybe like an upper mid-card heel on Dynamite. But yeah, apparently he's not gonna leave since they end up retaining. And it's the trios titles. I don't care much about them, but I care about Gates of Agony. And I had them backing up Swerve since they're much more capable in the ring. I think they even look better than Bordeaux and Trench. Like Toa Leona by himself scares the shit out of me as compared to Trench and Parker. So this match had a big team versus small team dynamic where surprisingly, the small team dominates for about like 3 to 4 minutes. It was just all Blake Christian, Metalik, and AR Fox all the time. And AR Fox looked the strongest out of his whole team. I'm gonna give this top 3 spot of the match because dude by himself works his ass off and takes everyone out. He's one of the best hot tags today. Very high effort dude. And he goes on for like about 2 minutes. Hopefully I managed to display that whole AR Fox rush in this short period of time without explaining it. It was made up of a lot of cutters and like outside dives to both sides, so yeah. So the match changes when Metalik hits Toa with a splash, and then he kicks out at 1. The whole face team, after all of that, just recoil in fear, and it looks like one of those pictures that are taken before disaster. I like how these guys use the fact that the internet thinks that Brian Cage might not resign, and he might not resign. They could still lose the titles like next week or 2 weeks after. We don't exactly know when his contract will expire. And the online wrestling journalists still could be wrong. Because when the embassy takes control for the first time in the match, they don't let go. It's a lot more slow and methodical, but there are a lot more power moves than rest holds. And there's no clear whipping boy out of any of the heels. Pretty much everyone gets beat up. And Khan doesn't look as weak as he does usually. And there's still this in-match narrative where Toa isn't the smartest guy, like he isn't up there in the head. That's his character and it can get him to trouble. It's a thing that can be exploited in such a fierce, strong wrestler. This match is a lot more like New Japan Pro Wrestling Juniors match when it comes to tag rules, since there's not enough ring cutting in half or keep away spots that I like very much. It's pretty much a show stealer. So top 3 spots of the match. Number 3 is the AR Fox rush. Number 2 is Toa has this Uranagi, but this gets countered into a DDT by Metalik. And then number 1 is like a step over destroyer by Blake Christian to Brian Cage. So usually you would get a rest match here, since Commander and Vikingo just like did all of the high spots in the first one. But Tony Khan chose war and did not have a rest match for the entire show. It might have affected the crowd a bit, and this is one of the matches that was most affected by the crowd, pretty much being exhausted. But after using my eyes to watch the match instead of my ears, this was a pretty good show stealer. This could have opened the show and it would have been fine. This is TV undercard, pay-per-view undercard. And so after that is Athena versus Yuka Sakazaki, and this is the match with the poorest build. Like, we had an encounter on Dark, I think, and then on the last show of Ring of Honor before the pay-per-view. Since Yuka spends a lot of her time in Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, she was their world champion. So pretty much we had Athena building the feud by herself in like a video package before the match, and it's okay. But it would have been better if the build came from both wrestlers. Yuka just lost her title, so I think it would be nice if she like spent a month doing stuff in ROH, if she can't in Dynamite, because she's a very talented wrestler. And I think it would serve Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling well if they ran with their other stars instead of Yuka all the time. Because their main event scene is pretty much just Mizuki, Shoko Nakajima, the two Miyus, Watanabe and Yamashita. And then maybe you can count Maki Ito in there, but not very much. She works better in a tag team for now. So Yuka's entrance is pretty much cut short because of how short the ramp is. And it kind of takes a while before it gets to the danceable part, like the part with the lyrics of her song. But there are no like children following her this time, like in Cyberfight, so it's okay. If you're gonna have a special entrance for Yuka, it better have a long ramp, because it takes a while for that song to kick in. And as for Athena, she enters smashing up this doll, being an animated heel, and I don't think she's ever shown this much personality in her entire career. Like, as a babyface, it's like ordinary, but for me, it's the wrestling that carries her. But as a character, this is the most that we get. Like, she works her ass off, staying in character for the entire match. I'm still not used to it, but it's really good. So in Tokyo Joshi Pro, Yuka's opponents are pretty much the same all the time. Their styles limit what she can do. But seeing her in a match with Athena, I mean, they still don't have that chemistry that Yuka might have with Shoko or with Mizuki or with Miyu, but it sort of unlocked her potential. It opened up things that we never expected out of Yuka facing off against Athena. The story of the match is Yuka's neck that starts visibly bothering her after she does a cannonball and then she lands on her head. This was one of the weirder spots I've seen tonight because I didn't know what she was trying to do. I don't know if she was trying to do a flip or a shoulder block, but she just landed on her head and this looked pretty bad. It looked like she connected something, but landing was terrible. Athena works on her neck with both submissions and slams. They go for a main event pace, and thankfully, the down periods remain entertaining because of Athena's heel work. She's pretty much Seth Rollins if the gimmick wasn't cringe and didn't remind me of Shinsuke Nakamura. This is the first match where the moves are better spaced between each other. The moves are especially devastating when it came to Yuka's head. And the selling was really good, with Yuka making small adjustments to her neck, just cracking it a bit. And when it's Athena's turn to sell, it's in the Willow Nightingale and Ruby Soho school of making dying animal noises. She also has in-ring dialogue and is obnoxious as all hell. Great heel work. The match reaches a higher gear after Yuka goes for a stage dive. She runs the small stage and then does a flying crossbody on Athena on the floor. So for top spots of the match, an honorable mention is when Athena goes for a hard forearm after Yuka does a combo, and then it's a fast response, fast counter sort of thing. So pretty much Athena is still out of it after being hit with Yuka's combo, and then hard strike, she falls right into Yuka for the kick out. I think something like this should finish a match. Just saying. Since Athena's portrayed as strong as she is, I wouldn't be surprised if this can end a match against a less worthy opponent. Number 3 spot is this triple powerbomb by Athena after countering a Hurricane Rana from Yuka. Number 2 spot is the finish because Yuka tries to go for a princess splash and then Athena does a twirl and then pushes the ref on Yuka, setting her up for an eclipse as she's on the ropes. This looked sick, but Yuka turns her head a bit too early, that it made her look like she was just waiting. This could have been number 1, but there's just that flaw. And then as for spot number 1, it's the stage dive. So I really love this match, beat for beat, all of the heel work, the storytelling around the neck, and just the move variety that they do. So I'm gonna give this pay-per-view undercard. I think they could have reached a higher gear, similar to the heights that Yuka and Shoko reached at Cyberfight, and the head landing cannonball spot as well as the finish took away from the final score. You can't be making those mistakes if you want pay-per-view semi-main or main. So after this is Samoa Joe versus Mark Briscoe, and this has to be the most controversial match of the night because of the winner. But honestly, in my opinion, I think there's more story to tell. I think Mark would be more over after a chase, and they didn't do much to build this feud anyway. They didn't go far enough when it came to Joe versus Mark Briscoe. The whole storyline, and with Jay, they have to go to a point where Joe says Jay would be disappointed of you, or he was better than you. And eventually this will lead Mark to internalize Jay instead of seeing him as a separate figure. It's kind of like that Piccolo Kami moment. This match was good enough, but it was not deserving of Mark Briscoe finally winning the belt. So the match is back and forth. It's paced like a main event. It has the loudest strikes of the night so far, and I think of the entire night, except Shibata's slap. But that's pretty much all they do. For a match with so much going into it, where you're trying to honor Jay Briscoe, this was lacking storytelling moments, as well as in-ring dialogue that Joe excels in. This was pretty much just mostly striking with very small move variety. I liked Mark's chair dive, but when they get outside, when the table gets brought in, Mark does like a overhead neck breaker that looked like it hurt Mark more than it did Joe. Like Mark took all of that table and it looked bad. We have an amazing storytelling moment where Mark goes for the tag, but production doesn't get the exact moment of the tag. It was more tell than show. Like only the commentator sold it because I did not see it happen. It just cut right to Mark finishing the tag. And this storytelling moment can actually play into what I said earlier, where Mark starts to embody Jay instead of seeing him as a separate figure, as like a spirit in his corner. So the finish of the match is pretty sick, because Joe goes for the Coquina Clutch. That's still a better name. But it's a Coquina Clutch, he suplexes him from that position, and then he just locks it in, Mark faints, Joe wins. This was totally the right choice. Like, the fans should be patient since there's more story to be told, and there's a better match that can be had. I don't think the feud was hot enough to have Mark take the belt yet. TV undercard, pay-per-view undercard. So after this is Daniel Garcia versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. And this is what Austin Theory versus John Cena wished it was. This was a storytelling match. This is a storytelling match that compensates for the physical limitations of one of the performers. Because Tana can't do what he used to do. He pretty much has trouble running. I actually have a good idea, in my head anyway, where John Cena and Hiroshi Tanahashi have a match, and then they try to do their old stuff, but then they just fall down and then like laugh. And somehow they end up having a dusty finish. But yeah, back to the match. As compared to Cena versus Theory, which was just basic shit and taunting for the whole time, there's actual in-ring dialogue and a story that is played up. And also there's a lot of limb working and some callbacks to Tanahashi's former opponents. Like Daniel Garcia paid tribute more to Nakamura, more than how the WWE actually uses Nakamura. And Tanahashi, man, he's getting to the point of being a great Mura, where every year he just gets progressively more immobile. He sells his leg consistently when it's being damaged, but he also sells his offense. Like the body language from this guy. He slows down his attacks enough to make it look like the most weightiest thing ever. And then Garcia sells accordingly. The dude just knows how to work. The climax is okay. It's not as fast as I wanted it to be. It's not as fast as in Tanahashi's glory days. Tana just hits his moves of doom. Twist and shout, sling blade, and then a physically limited high fly flow. So top 3 spots of the match. Number 3 is the Nakamura tribute by Garcia. Number 2 is the strike battle where they go for each other's legs. And then number 1 is Tana's Cannonball Swanton. So yeah, I really had fun with this match. I know Austin Theory looks better than Garcia, but Garcia is the better wrestler, and arguably sports entertainer as well. Tana also put in more effort. Like the man can barely move, but 100% effort there, even when his front teeth are missing. So yeah, post-match is a rejected code of honor. Tana celebrates without his front teeth. So after this is the Reach for the Sky ladder match. And this match was insane. Insane enough to not require such a fucking crazy stupid spot like the Destroyer on top of the horizontal ladder onto the House of Tables. The match already peaked and there was nothing else left to be done. Mistakes happen, but you have to put these people in better positions to not get hurt. This spot was excess and I don't think they should have done it. For the match itself, it's a show stealer. It's the show stealer of the weekend. It's better than anything that anyone this weekend put out when it comes to matches that are specifically made to make you ooh and ah. Each team gets a chance to shine. The violence escalates slowly with ever more creative stuff. And there's even like a running story with two of the loser teams in LFI and the Kingdom. And I'm gonna get to that later. But everyone just brings their A game. I like the spot that the luchadors do where they like do their combination splash. It's like a wheel splash, but Fenix sells his own splash. He like recoils back and then falls down. There's an early alliance formed, but it lasts only for seconds, since the Kingdom and LFI just like fight it out for the whole match. Especially the two best members of their teams, Roosh and Mike Bennett, who own the number one best spot. And it's when they climb the ladder up to the top. They go face to face, and then they climb back down, move the ladder out of the way, and then honorably kick each other's ass. Number 3 spot is the Doomsday Device, also by the Kingdom. It's like an outside dive, like a tope suicida type of Doomsday Device, where Bennett holds up Dante, and then Taven's the one who does the clothesline off the top rope. Number 2 spot is the finish, where Fenix kicks Matt Taven off of the other side of the ladder onto the horizontal ladder that's stabilizing the entire thing. And then Taven just takes a bad fall. I think he goes ventral side on the ladder and then just stays there as window dressing while Fenix takes the belt. Some honorable mentions are the ladder sandwich by Aussie Open, where they do what they usually do with ladders instead of people, and then they sandwich Dante Martin. Yeah, Dante takes a lot of offense. Dante also lands on his leg a lot and might have contributed to what happened later. Another cool spot is the Team Spinebuster by Aussie Open. From the apron to the horizontal ladder that's set up from ring to guardrail. Another one is Dralistico's Hurricane Rana, I think to Kyle Fletcher, that destroys the commentary setup. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. I already described the finish. I've described my opinions about the Dante Martin injury in a short and as well as the review. So I'm going to give this match still pay-per-view main event. It was that damn good. But even if Dante did not get injured, this is not going to top the main event. So yeah, post-match is Mark Briscoe shows up with FTR and then they congratulate the Lucha Bros. It's all a feel-good moment that's brought a little bit down by the injury. So after this is Wheeler Yuta versus Katsuyori Shibata for the pure title. And I don't think people had Shibata winning. I think I'm in the minority here. Because I had Shibata winning. Because the pure rule set pretty much protects him from injury. I mean, in his matches, he doesn't even do crazy stuff. His headbutt was just like this passion-driven thing. So even if this wasn't the pure championship, I think he would be safe whenever, whatever. But yeah, all joking aside, there is no reason why Shibata shouldn't be wrestling. So yeah, I'm glad that Tony Khan picked him up and that he will be a regular of ROH for the foreseeable future in a match-by-match basis. So for the match itself, this was pretty much just a spanking by Daddy Shibata. This was a technical storyteller that used the pure rule set to its limit. So Shibata out-wrestles the shit out of Wheeler. Like, Shibata's still good on the mat. It's like it's nothing. Wheeler can't do anything for like 7 whole minutes. Like, his only moments of control for the match are like 2 to 3 pretty shaky minutes. In every department, may it be wrestling, may it be striking, Shibata outclasses Wheeler, and then Wheeler realizes this midway into the match. Wheeler even tries to cheat multiple times, but it doesn't work. He tries to do a seat belt, and then Shibata just says no. He tries to go for a strike battle, then Shibata no-sells everyone, except maybe one on the post, but then Shibata replies with a hard forearm that just like makes Wheeler collapse on the corner. Great selling for young Wheeler. Top 3 spots of the match. Number 3 is this cocky as hell figure 4 leg lock where Shibata like points on his neck as he has Wheeler in a figure 4, and then Wheeler goes for a strike, but Shibata like locks in the hold. This happens for 3 times, I think, but this was so funny. He was just toying with him at this point. Number 2 is the low blow, followed by the punch to the head. And number 1, undeniably, is the finish, where Wheeler goes for one of his stupid rebound clotheslines. Like, legit, he should stop doing this. This looks terrible. And then when he rebounds back, Shibata slaps him the hardest of the night. This takes Wheeler out, sleeper hold, PK. Shibata is the new peer champion, and all is good in the world. This is a pay-per-view semi-main. Not only for the moment that we get Shibata back, but also the decimation of Wheeler Yuta. This wasn't a come down, this is third best match of the night. Post-match segment is a rejected code of honor, and Shibata celebrates, but this is not the last time we see of him in the show. And so for the main event, Claudio Castagnoli versus Eddie Kingston for the ROH World Heavyweight Championship. So this is a feud like Dom and Ray. A weird comparison to make, but it spans years. Like, this has everything you would want from a main event match. Storytelling at its finest, some limb work on Claudio, his left leg specifically, that's consistently sold, a variety of moves used, and just like these hate spots, like these mean-spirited as fuck, disrespectful like slaps by both Eddie and Claudio, some spits by Eddie. They portray it well that these two don't like each other, that this is a fucking fight. Match is slowly built up, paced like a main event, and they start the phase of a King's Roads match where they just hit the big moves. The bomb phase is what I call it. When Claudio goes for a Ricola bomb, it's countered by Eddie to a spinning back fist. And then after this is when all of the top spots happen. So yeah, for the top spots of the match, honorable mentions, number 1 is the giant swing that Claudio sells the leg after. Eddie injures the leg so he can't do all of the rotations. And then another one is the double stomp to the face. I think this should be top 4. Yeah, this is top 4. Claudio goes for the pin, and then Eddie, like, gouges the eyes to escape. So yeah, for the top 3 spots of the match is when Claudio says, "You'll never get my respect." He, like, chuckles. He, like, actually, like, laughs out loud. Goes for the slap. Eddie counters with a back fist. Number 2 spot of the match is a neutralizer, where Eddie kicks out at 1. And number 1 is the gut-wrench suplex from the apron where like Eddie lands like Yuka did. Oh my god. This was a lot more controlled. It's not as head spiky as Yuka. Eddie like lands more on his neck, but this was freaking awesome. This might be spot of the weekend. So the finish was amazing. And it should be an honorable mention. Yeah, let me just add that. And I think this is appropriate for the first match between these guys back in somewhere, because their matches in Chikara don't count. Not a lot of people watched it. This is match number 1 in this series, because Claudio goes for a Ricola bomb. Eddie Hurricanrana pins him. Claudio turns him over for a pin. 1, 2, 3. Claudio wins. This is pay-per-view main event and is one of the matches of the year. No doubt about it. Great storytelling, great booking decision. There was no doubt that this was supposed to be what happens. And it's not that sort of story match where they just do meandering. Like what Roman and Cody are pretty much doing. I don't feel the hate between Roman and Cody. I don't think this is the best match of WrestleMania. I'm actually watching this while recording. But yeah. Post-match is Claudio asks for a handshake without consent, like forcibly. Wheeler and Claudio surround Eddie, but then Shibata shows up. And honestly, where the hell is Mox? Mox, we've seen enter with Wheeler. So why didn't he back his boys up? But yeah, 2v2, Wheeler and Claudio, Shibata and Eddie. They go face to face. Whenever Shibata raises Eddie's hand, crowd cheers. Whenever Wheeler raises Claudio's hand, crowd boos. So I guess this is the route we're going. A tag team match to build up to the next pay-per-view. And again, I'm all in on this story. Joseph Montecillo did a good job in telling us what we didn't see and what we might never see, since God knows where that Chikara footage is. It might be in some DVD, but yeah, it's like hard to access now. After this, Eddie cuts a promo where he's allowed to cook. He puts over Tana and Shibata with his puro fanboyism. He throws a bit of shade at MJF, and then he says the story is not finished, basically. And I guess, oh well, Cody and Roman is overbooked. The Usos just came in. There's no way that match is going to be better. F the WWE style, man. They just keep ruining things for themselves. The match was already going really well. Why the fuck can't they just end a match fucking clean? Why have all these run-ins? Tune into my WrestleMania review. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe and shit. I don't give a shit. I'm going the Eddie Kingston route. Like, comment, and subscribe. Blah, 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 blah. Share if you don't know me. Bye-bye.